I do not agree with it at all. I mean, at first, as I said earlier, I just thought that, yeah, this is cool. You know, we getting down on the criminal activity within Barbados, probably trying to disorganize some of the criminal organizations within Barbados. But when we look at it like this, I mean, like, this is an invasion of privacy, especially for the average citizen of Barbados, especially when it goes against the grain. And for those who speak against certain situations and within Barbados as well. I mean, like, what's next? Like, seriously, what is next? And it's becoming very scary that, you know, that somebody could look in and listening on your conversations without you actually knowing what it is.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that everybody on here, Brandon, would agree. Good night, Brandon. Good to see you.
Hey, good night, Mars. Good night, everyone. Good to see you.
Sorry about that. It's my fault, people, why he wasn't on earlier. Brandon, I think everybody would agree that we need to have some kind of crime fighting mechanism put in place. We need stronger laws. We need to use the laws that we have on the books. We need to do something. And wiretapping to some extent, and we're going to look at that, can help to do that. But we're here looking at the current bill that is supposed to be made into law. And Brandon, there are sections in this bill that would allow the authorized individuals, which is the Commissioner of Police or the Director General, to be able to request or to do wiretapping. We're calling wiretapping, or to tap, to surveil, to intercept communications without a warrant. Mm-hmm. They've listed several incidences here where it can actually happen based on the law. And so I wanted to hear from the young people. What are your thoughts about that?
Ooh. Right now, after taking some time to read the literature and take a chance to look at everything, to be honest, it is a very tough position to be in, because for the first part, information is key, right? Mm-hmm. Information is key, and information is currency in 2025. And to be able to have access to such a wide pool of information, and to be faced with statutes that are so, as everybody has been saying, so broad, and who is the judge, for what is, going to affect national security, you understand? And putting the power in the hands that be to make those decisions within their own little space puts us, the people, in a position where we got to be even more delicate with the things that we say and the information that we choose to give out, even in basic day-to-day conversations, right? And there is a positive side to this, of course, but we have to look at everything on a scale. And right now, this scale is heavily outweighed on the negative side, because yes, okay, you may be able to listen into a few more conversations that could give you some information as it relates to nefarious activities. But as we know, and history has shown, criminals have found very creative ways to avoid things like this from time immemorial. So as much as there's the positive, the negatives completely outweigh them. So I think in order for something like this to fly, we need to create serious safeguards that can make the people of Barbados feel comfortable with something like this. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we're there yet. We're not even close.
We're not close. Don, you started to speak about this, Don. The fact that people whose phones and their devices were being tapped, and they said it in Parliament, almost like, well, yeah, that happened, let's move on, right? Now, with this 52B, where for these vague reasons, someone's phones could be tapped without any warrant. You would have read the document, hopefully, by Barbados Underground, where it was being investigated in 2013 that, there were several persons whose phones were tapped, including Owen Arthur, including Fronda Stewart, including Faith Marshall Harris, who is in charge of the children's advocate, including the policeman Bowen, who was a whistleblower because he came out and spoke about it. All these people's phones, there's so many of them, phones were tapped. The question is, Section 52B that doesn't require warrant. Do you think that Don and the others think about this? Could this be used against political rivals, journalists, or activists instead of criminals?
Yeah, it definitely could. At the end of the day, national security could mean anything to the particular government official who is interpreting that at the time. Any minister who thinks that criticism of them is going to quote unquote bring up national security, they could use it. It's going to be very, very hard. Barbados already doesn't have an opposition as it is. And this, similar to the cybercrimes bill, is just another way to try to stamp out opposition. The government know full well that just by enacting the law, people are going to be a lot more silent. People are going to be on their toes a lot more. They're going to, as Brandon said, communicate just a lot less. They're going to be more cognizant about how they communicate. And all of this is an effort to, just stay in power as long as they humanly possibly can. This plus the cybercrimes bill, as you mentioned, Marcia, we've been talking about the cybercrimes bill for well over a year now. This is a very similar bill to that. And wiretapping people without even a warrant, there's just no way to say that there can be any kind of pros to this situation. All we can come up with are cons.
Yeah. Janine, do you think that this can be used, this section of the bill, because we're not saying the entire bill is bad, but especially when you're going to have, tapping without warrant. And it's in the section that everybody here, we are agreeing with those, the terms are vague and broad. Do you think that this is something that the ruling government could use in an election season?
Yes, most certainly. For me, as Dawn was saying, as Odo said earlier, it brought me back to cybercrime bills legislation. They couldn't get through with that. So here's another thing that we can go through with. We are sitting right now in a country that doesn't really have a constitution, so we can do anything. When I really think about it, though, I think that this bill is what we will call proportionate, where we will target specific individuals and do not mass monitoring. It will come down to that at the end of the day. Also, it will be used for political and personal gain. We have no doubts about it. We will like it to be used for crime prevention. But look at the Tint situation. People say that, oh, they got the Tint, and boys start to write about like shooting, or just walking about and shooting as well. Even with the Tint situational persons are not even know if they're getting the correct reading for Tint. So we continue to just put the cart before the horse in this country, and I do believe that it will be used for politics.
Yes, that it is something, it has the potential, especially when we don't have, as they would say, the guardrails in place, the checks and the balances in place. You can get, we see from Section 9 that you could get a warrant, an oral, you can request one orally. And then we are seeing in Section 52B that you can perform taps, or you can listen into conversation, intercept communication without a warrant for vague, very vague and broad economic well-being, national security, and all of that. What if Theirry, I'm here criticizing the Peerhead Project. Suppose I'm criticizing the Peerhead Project, right? And the powers that be think that I am coming against the economic well-being of the country. Based on Section 552B, I can be tapped. They can decide to intercept my communications, and there's no warrant. they decide that this is what they're going to do. Based on that, I'm moving the conversation along. Theirry, if you had the power, would you recommend that this section, that they remove this section from the bill?
They need to remove the section about economic well-being and need to remove the section about national security. It's too vague, right? But the thing about it, I honest to God, I asked some elders recently about who writes the bills, and they told myself, they always said to myself, he could take offense or not, the AG. I don't know if he's part of the writing process, the drafting process, but if he is, he's a horrible draftsman, horrible. Or is it people whoever writing it taking some serious?
Why do you say he's horrible? Why do you think he's a horrible draftsman?
Whoever written is a horrible draftsman. This is what I think so, right? Because look at it. Look at the cybercrime bill. Cybercrime bill had the same sort of vague language. Look at this bill now. Same sort of vague language. It's either that they're bad at the job or they're very afraid. They know what overcame you know how the Americans do it. They send it to the Senate and they have to go back over again. So I would expect it to be kind of the same thing. Go to the minister and some minister, this is the bill. I know add this, but sir, that is not right. We here wait till you add this. So you gotta be some sort of fear. Is it a fear or you're very bad at your job? One or two. That doesn't be taken on it, but it needs to be taken out because it's not right. Right? And lastly, respect to the oral section, I won't take that out. I would just say if you're going to give an oral request, it has to be recorded and documented. That's one. And then when the CJ gives the oral order, if he chooses to give an oral order, then it has to be documented by some sort of secretary. That's where it will put that. So you include the safeguard. But as I said before, they could take offense to come and curse it on the road. But whoever doing it, either bad at the job or the friend for whoever giving the instructions. We want it to.
But Zico, you think that it is that they're bad at their jobs, or is it
they're written deliberately?
I think it's purposely written like this. It's purposely written like this. If you want to hide the truth, put it in a book. And Bajans don't read. That's sad to say, but Bajans don't read. So if we can vaguely write something like this in legal terms and just go into Parliament and speak passionately about Hiba Jibo and paint a picture, and Bajans just go with it. Bajans just look for clips. Bajans don't really go into things deeply. So it's purposely written like this. It's not that they're bad at their jobs. They just know how to hide the truth. Hide the truth in writing. Because we do not read. And that's the sad part of it. We just do not read. I mean,
Daniel, let me ask, Daniel, you agree with do you agree with Zico that it's deliberate? Do you think it's deliberately done this way?
Yeah, man, I believe it's deliberate for sure.
Why?
I mean, let's be honest. The administration, they're filled with intelligent persons. They're not.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Sorry, I was saying
up here.
It might be me. Is it any better now?
A little bit better for me.
Okay. So I was saying that the administration is filled with intelligent persons, right? They know what they're doing. The language is vague on purpose. I think it was introduced at the right time. I saw someone in the comments saying done within 5 days of crop over. If they can sneak this through, I referenced the Trojan horse before. If they can sneak this through, by the time they get it, passed into law, the ramifications of it, it'll be too late, right? I heard Janine mention earlier, speaking about the tent. I don't see the evidence, or I haven't seen them provide any evidence to suggest any of the measures that they're trying to implement will actually do anything to impact the fighting of crime. I haven't seen it. I don't think the tent will do it. As Janine said, the guys are just using bikes now, so I guess we're going to have to ban bikes. The wiretapping, where's the evidence that shows that this is actually going to have an impact?
You hold right there. I'm going to get back to you on that. Okay. But let me finish up with this 5-2B here, because I think this is important here, Brandon. Because our privacy, this is enshrined in the Constitution. right? About our privacy. I don't know if Don would remember exactly where in the Constitution it is about our privacy. And if you're going to infringe on that and take that basic right from us, I would think that at least let's go to the proper channels and have, a warrant should be issued, and you should not have these wide and vague terms, and reasons for issuing a warrantless interception, right? Of my. So would you recommend, Brandon, as a citizen of Barbados, a young man, growing up in Barbados, a citizen of Barbados, that this section be removed from this bill?
Absolutely.
Why?
There will be no way to stop them. There will be no way to safeguard yourselves. If they're just able to move warrantless, again, who is going to be there to judge their standards? Who is going to be there to judge whatever they say is the reason why this warrant may be needed? So ultimately, like my last point, we just need to get it to a place where we have enough safeguards to make people feel comfortable, especially as it relates to these warrants as well. These things, you have to be able to go through the correct channels, go through the correct processes and procedures in order to acquire these things, to tap into people's information.
Yeah. Now, would you believe if I showed you, before we move this conversation on, I feel like I need to rest here a little bit, because we're about presenting, Don would know this, and Janine and Theirry, we're about presenting, trying to find solutions. And we're not saying that the entire bill is bad and that it's not needed, right? What we're identifying is areas, Theirry, that we need to put the guardrails there, the checks and balances in, are removed completely. But would you believe, gentle people on here this evening, and those of you watching, that your Attorney General, in speaking of this in Parliament, did not mention this section of the bill? You would believe me, Janine, if I told you that? He did not mention it. In fact, I could show you, Dave could show you a clip of Honorable Wilfred Abrams saying that all of these taps, any kind of surveillance, any kind of interception, you would need a warrant for it. This is what he's saying in Parliament. They both excluded. They both excluded this particular section of the bill when they were describing it. Dave, can you put it up? Any of you would believe me if I told you that? Would you believe me, Daniel, that was excluded?
Not at all, but I think you're gonna show us now.
It was actually excluded, and they put out a GIS information package today and did not mention this section, that you can be they can basically tap your devices without a warrant. That was not included. I don't know if Dave is going to be able to do that quickly for us. Okay, so yes, let's play this one. We'll just play one tonight, and the rest I'll send to you. Go ahead, Dave. There, that one, Dave. Abrams.
Occurred without legislation. It occurred unsupervised and unregulated. Nobody knows exactly how far the police have gone with this up to this point in time. They were not required to get a warrant. There was no oversight on it. We know it occurred. We have now brought legislation to protect the people of Barbados, protect the institutions. We have now said you can't do it because you feel like it. You can't do it and we don't know what you're doing. Yes, we accept that sometimes you will need to gather evidence by interception. I'm just going to call it wiretapping because that's easy. That's just easy for me. It rolls off my tongue better. We know you may have to gather evidence by wiretapping, but you, before you need to do it, have to go and request a warrant, get a warrant from the chief.
Right there. And this is what, and I'm going to send you the other clips, guys. Janine, I'll send you the other clips of the Attorney General. This is what they are promoting. They have decided to leave 5.2b out